like let's say you try a new bit, it doesn't go the way you want it to, it doesn't work out, whatever. Work it a different way. Because like there
Hmm.
is a reason you thought that was funny to begin with.
Greetings, everyone. Come on in and have a seat up front for the Funny Muscle Podcast. If you're here, then you're looking to learn how to create laughs like a pro. So please help me welcome to the stage your co-host to help you do that, economics professor and open micer Chris Stifler and comedian turned author Mike Lucas.
I find it very funny when people get upset that when they find out politicians abuse power. I think that's hilarious because like I would do that immediately. Like how many times have you gone to get frozen yogurt and then you get the punch card and you just punch your own holes? You're telling me you wouldn't abuse the New York Stock Exchange?
We are very pleased to have with us one of the finalists from the Dallas Comedy Club's Purvis Wilson, funniest comedian in the city. He is one of the up and coming talents in this area, and we really enjoy watching him perform at the open mics and at the actual shows and in front of real people. But please welcome to the show, CAIN.
Hey everyone. Hi, how are y'all?
We're really glad to have you, Kane. I wanted to get you on the show because I've been watching you a lot at the open mics, and I love how your approach to doing this art form to making strangers, drunk strangers laugh. You're always up there with some fresh stuff, and you're always trying to push the boundaries of what you do. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that today. So thanks for being here.
Oh man, thanks for having me. That means a lot to hear that, because you go up there with new shit and you're like, this is terrible. No one cares.
Well, but isn't that the purpose of the open mic? And that's, not necessarily the when you do the other shows like the regulators and the other paid shows you do there. But when you're doing an open mic, it's like going to the gym and you have to work out
Yeah,
when you go to the gym.
man, that's how I feel, especially coming into this new year. I have, coming into this 2025, 2024 ended very hot for me. I had a lot of good things going, and I have a very, very good, reliable 15 minutes that I know works everywhere, and going into 2025, I was like, you know what? I am not touching that hot, reliable 15 until I get a new hot, reliable 15.
Yes, smart.
So all this whole year, I've just been bombing at every open mic. But what I've been telling myself is like, well, you're bombing with intention. It's
Yes,
for a reason. You're going up there and you're trying out this new stuff that isn't good now, but like already we're what? It's at the end of January right now. I have a like 3-4 minute bit that's really worked itself out already in this month. And
sweet.
so like, yeah, I'm proud of that,
Yeah, and that
that just
that's
adds
that's
to the
brutal.
time.
That's the battle right there is getting in there and you're battling the ego. The ego wants you to go, "Yeah, but that 15 is so sweet and we could kill. We show these
Yeah,
people something. We show them, but you're not there to show them something. You're there to work out your new 15 so that then you'll have a full 30 and then you could be a feature act.
right. And yeah, like total material, I have about 30, but of that 30, I know 15 is just
Right.
killer.
Right. So you can already feature, but
The
you're
rest
saying
of
you're
it,
trying to get that solid ready for a special material.
every, set that I do to just like, I want people to walk out of the room and be like, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
Who was that guy? Why have we not seen him yet?
Right. Kane, who puts the pain in Kane. It's
You
a
know,
great name. It's a great name for comedy and it's memorable. And when you have a one syllable name like that, it is that how where does that come from? Is that part of your real name or is that something that you don't want to talk about?
my real name, that's my real government name. It's Kane.
But no first name, no middle name? Uh-oh, we lost him. The government took over. There he goes. There you go.
Hello?
Woo. The guy, well, you mentioned the government, and all of a sudden you cut out. We're like, oh shit.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, Kane that's my real government name. It's a CAIN. The way it's spelled on stage, that's a That's my legal first name.
Oh, that's great. And wow, you just and you're it's so unique that you don't have to even bother with your last name. That's great. Do you do you have you always gone with that as your stage name since you started comedy?
No. So my original, well, okay. It depends how far you want to go back.
Go back. We
Um,
got time.
so if we're speaking like, technically, the first time I ever did an open mic was when I was 18.
Wow.
So that was back in, had to be like 2015 or 16. I think it was 2016. That was the first time I ever did an open mic. But I only did like two or three, and then I kept getting into fights with my dad.
About doing
Because he didn't
stand
want,
up?
yeah, he didn't want me doing it.
What
And
would he prefer
so
you doing?
being in college, which I was at the time,
Doing that
but
damn
he was just
comedy
like,
instead of studying?
right. So we got into a really big argument to the point where I was like, this isn't even worth doing if we're gonna get into fights every single day.
Right.
So I stopped, but it was like all I thought about for like 6 years. And then so I started again, and as of right now, that was like 2 years ago. Oh, but this is what I was gonna say. So when I first started, when I was like 18, I went by my first name and my middle name. So it's Kane Patrick.
Oh, that's nice.
Like I said, in that time where like I wasn't doing comedy, that 6 year gap, I needed something to like fulfill me creatively. So I started making music. I decided when I was making music, I was like, oh, I want my name to just be Kane, and I want it to be in all capital letters.
Sweet.
I was like,
Yeah.
because I was like, I know if this music thing takes off or whatever, I want to do things outside of music as well. I never wanted to like, just tie myself down because I knew eventually I was like, I'm gonna do comedy as well.
What kind of music were you doing? Oh, were you writing music? I mean, writing
Yeah,
songs?
I was rapping.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. I actually have a mixtape out on the internet if anyone wants to find it. But and then so when I started comedy again, like a little over 2 years ago, the first like 6 months, I was going by Kane Patrick, but in my head, I was just like, man, I really liked when I was doing that, like Kane, all capital letters. I was like, it's just easy, it's unique. No
Yeah.
one else is going to be named Kane. And I was like, at that point, I had never even been booked on a show. I was just doing mics for 6 months straight. And I was like, no one's going to remember this. So I'm just going to change my name. And
No one's going to
so,
remember
yeah,
Kane Patrick
yeah. But Kane,
McCain. Yeah,
yeah.
and it's
So
very
that's when I
memorable, and
switched it up.
it's just it's like Madonna memorable, you know.
Yeah.
It's like Sting. It's Kane. It's just great. And yeah, now you can branch into comedy and rap, and you can either way you're covered.
Right. That's what was the whole purpose. I was like, if I ever want to do anything outside of it, like I can just keep the name. Eventually, I would like my Instagram handle to also be just Kane, just CAIN. But the dude that owns it does not want to let me have it. Me and him have been going back and forth for like 4 years.
He's like, no, my laundry business needs this.
No, he wants you to pay like $2,000.
Oh man, it figures. It's always about the money. Well, so one of the big things that we
Yeah.
talk about with the funny muscle concept is the comedy lens. It's sort of like your brand. It's sort of the way you look at the world through your comedy lens and derive your material. Have you done much examining of your own comedy lens? A lot of comedians have it organically. Like you seem like you're in a good rhythm with your writing and with your delivery. So I imagine that you are solid with your comedy lens on some level. Have you done that though, like consciously, or is that just organically?
I've tried both. It works better for me to just let things come naturally.
Yeah.
But there's sometimes where I get frustrated and like I need to think of something. So I think what's been working for me more lately is like whenever the times where I was getting frustrated with not maybe writing so much, it was just because I wasn't being as observant as I should have been.
Yeah. Like really listening
And
and hearing the
so,
world.
right. So now, like when I walk through life, if anything makes me laugh, I just write it down. So, like if I'm having a conversation with someone and I say something that like gets a big pop in that conversation, I write it down immediately because I'm like, okay, this could be something.
And you'll
If
forget it if you
I'm
don't.
Yeah, you'll forget it. If I'm driving down the street and I see a street sign that makes me laugh, I'm like, all right, write that down. That's something, you know? And, most of it is nothing, but you do get those couple jokes out of it where it's like, oh, okay, this one thing I noticed, you know, walking down the street has led to a 5-minute bit.
Yeah, and the thing that I always teach the students that I have is that if you don't write it down, you lose the context of what you were thinking. So then you think later you're going to remember the bit because you're like, oh, well, that's so obvious. I'm going to remember that. But you're like, I don't even remember that
No,
I was talking about a street sign.
no, you got to write down every detail, every little thing. See, for me, like one of the biggest things with comedy is like giving your perspective.
Yeah.
So part of that is like part of being on stage is showing the world like, hey, this is who I am. This is how I see the world. To me, this feels very obvious, but I need y'all to see it too.
And how would you like state that? How would you say like your perspective? If we had to like summarize who CAIN is there a way that you can share that in a sentence, or is that something that you just have to glom from watching your material?
Well, again, I don't know because that depends on who you're asking. If you ask me,
Yeah,
I'd
I'm
be like,
asking
oh, I'm
you.
just yeah. If you ask me, I'm like, I'm just like a normal guy walking through life. Like I go to work every day, and
Yeah, but
yeah,
there's a darkness to you, and there's a like a sarcastic, sardonic sort of
right. So that's what I was gonna say. I don't see that in me, but
Huh.
I'm
if
just a
you were
big
to
old
ask
teddy
someone
bear.
else, yeah, if you ask someone else, they're like, oh yeah, he's an asshole, you know?
Well, Mike, what's your 3 words for Kane, Mike? How would you peg his persona?
Well, I would say I would say he's the sarcastic whisperer. Like he's
That's
quiet and
funny.
he
I
sneaks
just
up
I
on you.
don't Yeah, I've gotten that a lot, just like quiet, observant, and then like whenever you do say something, it's in a way where it's like to me, it's like, this is very obvious. Why are we not all noticing this thing? And it could be
Yeah.
considered nitpicky,
But your
but like
your observations aren't so obvious, and your material is it takes us by surprise, which is fun. But for you, it seems obvious, and that's why it's coming out easy for you.
I think that's what I've specialized in is pointing out pointing out little things that once you like reveal to a person like, hey, did you notice this? And it's like, oh yeah, that is funny. I didn't even that's something that like slipped my mind.
Yeah.
I like doing that. And I think it comes from, like I said, just being like a sarcastic, like asshole little kid where you would just look for like someone to slip up in conversation so you could nitpick that.
Now, where were you in your sibling order? Do you have any brothers and
I'm the
sisters?
I'm the youngest.
Ah, there you go. A lot of comedians are the
Yeah. I
youngest.
have an older sister.
Nice. How much older is she than you?
Yeah, I have a my older sister, she is 4.5 years older.
Okay, yeah. So you were like, hey, what about me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the second in order, and Chris is a twin.
So technically last, but only by 17 minutes.
That's a long. 17 minutes is a
That's
long
funny.
time while you're in the
I
middle of giving
always
birth.
Yeah, I always I wanted brothers, but that just didn't happen.
Well, now you have a lot of brothers, the comedy brothers.
Yeah, but they can't help me with yard work at my house. So
They won't even help you move for a pizza.
that's why I wanted brothers because my dad worked the shit out of me, and I was like, man, if there was like four more of us, we'd get this done pretty quickly.
Dad, I can't be your workhorse. That's too much. Well, what's your opinion of the state of comedy right now? How do you feel about, because you're pretty new at it in terms of the long stretch of it, in terms of the boom in the 80s and then the sort of the
Right.
line in the 90s and then the rebirth in the OOs and the teens. So how do you feel about it right now? Are you hopeful?
I I think comedy's hot right now. Comedy is very hot, but I do feel like there will be a dip soon.
Hmm.
Why do you think that's going to happen? Because it always a dip.
Because I think everything just ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
even if it's not a dip, it'll be a change in direction. Like even when like people talk about the comedy boom of the 80s, and like yes, don't get me wrong, there was a comedy boom of the 80s, but then you also hear people say after that like, oh, there was a decline in the 90s. I don't fully believe that because the 90s was probably one of the hottest times for like black comedy.
Yeah, 90s what was happened was the reason why I think people think there was a decline in the 90s is because it trimmed all the fat. All the shit gigs sort of dried up and it was
Right.
just the bigger clubs and the black clubs were hot.
Yeah, in the
That's what the
90s, I mean, that was the
Apollo,
pop off of like Apollo, Def
yep,
Jam,
yep, Def Jam.
that was so like yeah, to me, I was like, I don't feel like it was a decline. It was just like a shift of where things went.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was glad that a lot of that trimmed out because what ha was happening was that people were seeing bad shows. They were seeing weak shows. And they're
Yeah.
watching maybe like there'll be three or four comics on the lineup and one of them will be good and then three of them will be weak. And then they'll come away like, nah.
Yeah, it was also kind of the end of like, the ability to, back then when you would have a comic that would tour the country with 1 hour for 15 years.
Yeah,
It's
That's
like you
true.
can't do that
You
anymore.
can't. You gotta have a new hour every year.
Yeah.
Now, how do you go about that? Like, what could you have a process for writing material? Do you have like a methodology, or are you just writing down ideas and then working them out on stage?
I'm a on stage writer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have the idea pop in my head. And then all day when I'm at work, it's just all I think about. I'll think about it just over and over in my head. Okay, what if this? What if that? Thinking of different angles or perspectives in my head. Maybe I'll have a conversation with someone at work about it. If there's a laugh that comes out of it, I'll write whatever we talk. And then once I have like three or four ideas and like a main punchline, around that perspective, then I go on stage and I talk about it. And, usually the first time it's bad,
Of
but it
course. First draft.
what it does for me is like I don't like bombing. No one likes bombing.
No, doesn't
But
feel
when I'm
good.
up there and I feel the pressure of like they're not laughing, I need to make them laugh. It forces my brain to think of something funny immediately.
Yeah.
And so I'll say something and it usually, if it works out, then it'll get that pop. And I record every set that I do. So then I go back and watch and I'll be like, okay, that thing I said was funny. I'm gonna write that down and add it to the joke. After you do that for about a month, you got a full bit, and then I'll go back and I'll write that down, and that will be like the final version.
That's good. Yeah, I like that. There's a lot of comics that process it the way you do. They're not like a sit in front of their desk or computer and type it out and then memorize it and then go up and do it.
Yeah, it just never works for me that way.
Yeah. Well, but that's okay. I mean, that's the beauty of this art form is any of our styles work. Like what counts is that you get the end result and your material is great and the crowds love you and
Yeah.
it's a fun show because like I said like the sarcastic or the dark whisperer like you come at it kind of quiet and low key but then all of a sudden you're like pop 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 like a rapper like you have that energy to
Yeah,
rhythm.
that is funny. I think I draw also a lot of inspiration from like other art forms.
it. Oh,
And so like I translate it to comedy and I don't know if anyone else does that or not, but like I think that's one of the things that helps me is I'll see something else done in a different, entertainment aspect and I'd be like, how can I do this in comedy? And so
cool.
like one of the things for me is like I've said this before to other people, but like I feel like professional wrestling, rapping, magic, and stand-up comedy are all the same thing.
That's great.
I think like there it's all about crowd control.
Yep.
It's all about like hiding something from the audience until you're ready to reveal it.
Yeah, misdirection.
Yeah, it's just like literally like it it's 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 all entertainment. It's all for the crowd. You look at wrestling, it's all character work. It's all either getting them on your side or getting them against you. Like I said, like with magic, it's hiding something from the audience until you're ready to reveal it. just like rap music, it's like it's all persona, it's getting them on your side, it's wordplay,
It's
it's
rhythm.
writing. Yeah, there's so much that goes into it. And
Yeah,
like,
rhythm for all of them. There's a beat to all of it.
right. The other day I was watching a wrestling match, and I could tell the wrestling match was about to end because it was like big move, big move, big move, huge move, 1, 2, 3, it's over. And
Right.
I was like, that's a comedy set right there. Like that's how it's like, all right, punchline, 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 big pop. All right, thank you guys. I'll
That's
be
my
here
time.
next
Good
week,
night.
whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
I watch it every week, but it's dumb. Wrestling's dumb. I tell you what, wrestling's dumb. Wrestling is dumb because it asks too much of you as a fan. They ask you to believe in these unbelievable characters, you know? Like The Undertaker, for example. That's a dumb character to believe in. His whole backstory is he died. And then he came back to life. And his only goal in this newfound afterlife is to win the WWE Championship.
When you watch so you're tag team wrestling, you know what the hot tag is in that wrestling
Yeah.
terminal? Yeah, so like I think that too, like you almost can slow like some comics are really good at slowing it down and like you're leaning in and you're
Yeah.
waiting for like the
Yeah.
get the crowd
Yeah,
involved
yeah.
to make the good guy make the tag, and then it's like bop bop bop, three big moves, three big bumps, and then like another bump. And
Yeah, I think like it's just like it's all entertainment. It's all like because it's all like it's done in front of like a live crowd. Like that's a big aspect of it. Like watching wrestlers cut promos, like yeah, that's all like how can you get the crowd to react?
Yeah, and in the comedy world, it's so black and white. Are they laughing or are they not laughing? And that's their
Yeah,
reaction, you know. And although I also think we were talking about this the other day, there's a certain joy also to that silent tension that you can build in the comedy room where you are
oh
purposely getting it quiet so that you can pop it hard,
yeah, oh I love that. Oh, that's my favorite thing.
isn't it?
I remember I remember the first time like I noticed that I was doing that was the craziest part. It was an open mic at a bar, a gay bar actually. And they were talking the entire time during like everyone's open mic set.
Oh,
But the story I was telling, I guess, hooked everyone's attention in the room. And I remember I got to the part of the story like right before the punchline, and I paused, and that pause to me felt like an eternity because I looked into the crowd and I could just see like people on the edge of their seats, like their eyes wide open, like, whoa, what's he gonna say? And I just
right.
remember like soaking that in and being like, oh, this is so cool. They don't even know what's about to come. And
Yeah.
then like I hit the punchline and it's just like when that tension released, it was just ah, and it's just like,
Bam.
oh, this is perfect, you know?
And you want that every time. You want to be able to do like recreate that. And that is kind of the art and craft of stand up is to recreate that building of tension and then releasing of it
Yeah, man. When
over and
you when
over
you
again.
when you when you do that pause and you can see like just eyes wide open, like
Yeah.
what's gonna happen?
Yeah. And a lot of newer comedians in that moment of silent tension mistake that as a bad thing, and they try to get through it too quickly.
Yeah,
And I think that what you say is very wise, which is ride that shit like it's a surfboard.
yeah, 100%. That's another thing, an important thing. An older comic told me one time. I said something about like bombing, and they're like, "You didn't bomb. They were just quiet." You know,
Yeah.
if they're quiet, that's not all bad. That means they were listening.
Yeah, if they're heckling
You
and
know,
they're disruptive and they're getting up and leaving,
right?
then you bombed.
That's a bomb.
Yeah.
He's like, at least you had their attention. Now you just got to make it funny, you
But
know?
why did it hurt so bad?
that stings.
It stings, man. Well, speaking of that, what tell us if you can think of it, not to put you on the spot, but tell us like a awesome moment on stage and then a awful moment on stage. Could you have one of each?
Oh man,
Like for
awesome
you, like
moment.
the awesome
What?
moment to me for you, watching you in that Purvis Wilson contest was pretty awesome.
Yeah, the second round that I did was definitely the hottest room that I had been in at that point.
Yeah.
up to that point, like in my, well, I don't know. I mean, it definitely was a hot room. I feel like I really, really did well that second round.
Yeah, that
Um,
you almost took it.
yeah, it was nice. I don't know. There's been a couple awesome moments. Are these like on stage specifically, or just like in comedy in general?
It's just in general, like a moment that you can say where you feel like, man, I this is why I do this.
There's been a couple times where like I'll DM a headliner that I know is coming in town and be like, "Hey, is there any open spots available?" Whatever, and they'll be like, "Yeah, come through." And it's like it's cool to go do a guest spot in a big room. And it's like it's the easiest night of your life. It's a room full of 350 people that are dying to laugh. You go up there and
Right.
do 5 of your best minutes, and it's like, oh, this is the easiest night ever. Like, and it feels amazing. You feel like you see like where you want to be, and it's like, oh,
Right.
you get a slice of it. So those are
Imagine if
always
that many
fun,
people were there just to see you.
right?
Yeah. I like that. Those moments, and hopefully there's multiple versions of that moment, in a career, you're having multiple moments where you're getting to do those set spots. And that says something about your name. Nobody's going to put you on a show like that if they don't think you can come through and do it.
Yeah, I mean, it always feels great to not only like for someone to take a chance on you, but then for you to be able to deliver.
Oh, right.
And it's like, oh man, thank God.
Yeah, thank God I didn't need a big dick on the stage where the one guy put his name on the line for me.
So that always feels good. What
What about a
bad
bad
moments have I
moment?
had
Was there
on?
anything where you
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you the worst show I ever did.
I love it.
Um, it was so I got hit up for I got an email from someone that was like, "Hey, I got hit up," and they were like, "Oh, we're from the National Pickleball Association." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool, whatever." And they're like, we're gonna hold the National Pickleball Convention in Dallas this year, and we want to do a comedy show, and we'd love you to be a part of it." And at this point, I'm like, I don't even think I'm a year into stand up. I think I'm like maybe 8, 9 months in. And I was like, yeah, I'd love to. Cause like they sold it. It seemed like a huge opportunity. They were like, there's
Yeah.
gonna be thousands of people walking around.
I'm telling you, kid, pickleball's hot. It's hot.
Yeah. And so I was like, all right, cool. Yeah, I'd love to be a part of it. And they're like, all right, we'd like you to do 30 minutes.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Yeah. And I was like, no problem.
What? I'll do my act twice.
Yeah, I just lied like through my teeth. I was like, yeah, that's not an issue. And they're like, and it has to be all clean and family friendly.
Sure.
And I was like, easy. Who cares? Um, so the whole time I'm freaking out. I'm like, I don't have 30 minutes, and I definitely don't have 30 clean. So then I start seeing like, all right, who else is on this show? And so I start messaging everyone else that was on the show because they said specifically the only reason I lied was because they were like, we're only looking for 30-minute sets. And I was like, I want to be a part of this, so I'm gonna tell them I can do it.
Right.
And so I messaged everyone else and I was like, hey, did you agree to do the show? How much time did you say you could do? And they were all like, oh, yeah, no, we told them we could only do like 10 to 15. And I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, I'm the only one that agreed to the 30.
That you're the headliner.
Yeah. So then I emailed them back and I was like, hey, after reviewing my notes, I think I can only do about 15.
I can only do half of what I thought.
Yeah, and they were like, okay, that's fine. And I also like wasn't complaining that much either because I was like, it's not they told me like it's not paid. You're gonna have to take a day off of work. It was like you're just the
And
opportunity
it's
is you.
pickleball. By the way, it's pickleball.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, cool, whatever. Took a day off of work, showed up to do this thing, and when I get there, the lady that's like organizing it like knows nothing about comedy.
Oh no.
And so there's no place for us to like there's no green room, there's no place for us to like sit and go over notes and get ready. The stage is way too big. It was like a music stage
Oh
and it was
no.
outdoors. And the people that are there, I mean, there's no people there like sitting to watch comedy. She's right. There were thousands of people, but they were all just like walking by the stage, going to their next place.
Why is that guy standing up there
Yeah, so like then I look up on the stage and the band that goes up after us is setting up all their equipment.
while you're trying to do your comedy?
No, so they're setting it up and I see it and I was like, "Hey, how long are they going to be setting up, so we can start the show?" And she goes, "Oh, they're going to be setting up behind you the whole time."
Oh,
And I was like, "All right, fuck it." So
oh
it was like
no.
me and like 4 or 5 other people. Oh, Lucia was one of the people. You can ask Lucia about this. And so we're like, all right, let's all go up. And so I asked the lady, I'm like, all right, who's timing us? When are we getting the light?
You're like, by the
Stuff
way,
like
I think
that.
I can only do five.
So yeah, I get into that. So then she was like, oh, she's like, y'all just time yourselves. And I was like, okay. I was like, is there gonna be anyone giving us the light? And she's like, what does that mean? And I was like, before we're done, like a warning, like, hey, you got 1 minute left. And she goes, y'all can just do that for each other.
Oh my
And I
God.
was like, and she goes, "You're gonna do 15, right?" And I was like, I was thinking more of like 10.
Yeah, good
And
Lord.
she was like, okay, yeah, just whatever y'all want to do. And so
Jeez.
Lucia goes up. Oh, also, yeah, the order that we were supposed to go in was completely messed up because no one could find the parking or where the venue was. So everything was just out of place. It ended up just being whoever is there is going on stage. That's
There
that's the order you're
you
going in.
go.
Yeah. So Lucia goes up. I don't even remember how much time she did, maybe like 15. And then I went up and it was just utter silence. Like
Oh,
there was like maybe 2 or 3 people that were sitting there, but like they weren't laughing. Everyone else was just walking by. I'm doing these like barely fleshed out ideas because I'm not that far into comedy at this point.
right.
And it all has to be clean. So like I'm editing myself on stage.
You're like,
And
zip, zip,
so
zip, zip, zip.
no, remember, I originally agreed to do 30. I then said 15 and then 10. I think I got off stage at about 6 minutes
You felt
because
like a victory.
I was like, this means nothing. I was like, this isn't, no one here is ever going to go like tell anyone at a comedy club.
And when they said you're not getting paid, that right away,
Right.
I'm like, there's no skin in the game.
Yeah, I'm not getting paid. I had to take a day off of work for this. Like,
Yeah, you're
I just want,
Peyton.
right. I just want the picture for my Instagram at this point. And so like I did the 6 minutes and I was like, all right, next guy coming up the stage is oh, you know this guy. The next guy is Thomas Craig.
Oh yeah, Thomas came
Yeah.
up.
So then Thomas Craig goes up and does about 20 minutes to nobody.
Oh my God.
And he's up there having a blast.
He's always like that.
Yeah.
He's a joyful spirit.
Yeah. So he comes off stage. I'm like, how was it? He goes, it was great. And I was like, okay.
I love it.
And so, whatever. The rest of the comics go up. Thomas and me end up like walking towards the gate together because we were on the same shuttle bus back to the parking lot.
Okay.
And I don't know Thomas that well. I know him from comedy, so like we weren't having much of a conversation. But you could tell, like both of us are thinking, like, what the hell just happened? And so we're sitting there waiting for the shuttle bus. It's been quiet for a while, and then he just turns to me and he goes, "We got to start saying no to more shows."
Yes, sir, we do. Yes, sir, we do. Oh, that's
But
funny.
but man, when I posted on Instagram, the stage looked huge. Yeah,
Oh my God. Here we are. That's us right there. Like, see those little ants? That's us.
the pickleball national convention,
Oh God. That's
and they're like, "Oh, it's going to be on ESPN." Yeah, the tournament was not what we did.
not our show. Thank God. Can you imagine if they would have televised that? When there's people playing pickleball behind you?
Yeah, man, it was bad. They were playing in front of us, which is almost worse.
Oh, Jesus.
That was a bad show, and also like any show you have to do at a bowling alley is usually bad.
Yeah, yeah. I've done those. Sometimes they're in a separate room, like they have a like a like a separate, I don't know what, a separate room in
Yeah.
the conventions, like that they have at the bowling alley.
Yeah,
Man,
like where they
that's
throw
nice.
parties and stuff.
Yeah, like a party room. And if they do it in that, then you hear the rumbling of the of the balls hitting the pins in the background, but it's in a different room. But if you're in the open room where the bowling alley is, oh, it's hell.
Yeah.
Too funny.
But yeah,
Well,
that's definitely worst.
talk about the Dallas Fort Worth scene. You're pretty much a mainstay in this scene. What are your favorite clubs? And I know you like the Dallas Comedy Club. You're always there. What other clubs are you do you favor?
Yeah. You, as I'm wearing my Dallas Comedy Club hoodie.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Dallas Comedy Club, DCC, I love them. That's my home club. It's like 5 minutes from my house. That's why I'm always there.
Yeah,
But also, it's just like the staff there, it's just great.
yeah.
Everyone there, like very loving and welcoming.
It feels like a
You
home.
know, yeah, that's where I started. And it's like, it's also the place where like they have the biggest like patio area where like that's where all the comics hang.
Yeah,
Like if you were to compare it to like anything, I don't know if you've been down to like the Austin comedy scene.
I have. I used to play down at the Austin. What's the big club there? It was the one that Rich Miller used to book.
Yeah.
The one that was in the that was but no, the one in San Antonio was in the mall, and Austin was just the Austin Comedy Club, I think it was called.
Do you know Creek and Cave down in Austin?
No, I don't know that. I stopped working down there like probably 15 years ago.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you were there before like it got quote unquote good.
Yeah, yeah, I was there when it was like one or two clubs, and there was a couple of
Mm.
open mics.
So yeah, there's a club in Austin called Creek and Cave, and they have a similar like big patio area to like Dallas Comedy Club,
Okay.
and that's where all the comics go and like hang out. And
Uh,
to me, like Dallas Comedy Club feels very similar to that.
I like that.
But like, yeah, I love Dallas Comedy Club, but like other clubs that I love the Addison Improv. They've been giving me a little more work lately. And that's the oldest, I think it's the oldest improv in America.
Oh, no kidding.
I think so. And yeah, that place is great. There's just a lot of history there. You see like pictures on the wall of like people that have been there, and it's like, man, I can't believe I'm in the same building as like, you know, a place where this person was or that person was. And like you go
Right.
to the green room and you're like, who knows all the crazy shit that's happened back here.
Who knows who puked back here?
Yeah. So that place is great. I love both improvs. The other one is the Arlington Improv.
Yeah,
Arlington Improv is great. It's inside of an arcade.
fun.
It's really cool. I'm actually doing a show at the Arlington Improv on March 20th. I
Okay.
have a Anne Friend show. So it's gonna be me, and then I'm gonna have Peyton, Kenny, Taylor, Satare, Parker Slavens, and Corey Cherry on the
Oh,
show with me.
great. That's a great lineup.
So that's gonna be a really fun show. I'm gonna try to do 30 minutes that night. So
All clean with the pickleball.
yeah, we'll see. All pickleball material.
Right, right. The big
Um,
pickleball set.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
honestly, I think the best room to perform when it's a packed out show is the main room at the Hyenas in Fort Worth.
Oh, no kidding.
It's beautiful. It seats 350. It's all like one big rectangle, and the stage is right there in the center. All the laughs come from the same direction. The ceilings are low. Everything like echoes perfectly. I love that room.
Oh, I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah, that one's really cool. And then also like Backdoor. I love Backdoor. Backdoor, I feel like, especially if you're a new comic, that is a open mic you need to be hitting up every single Thursday. You get 3 minutes and it has to all be clean.
Oh, that's with what's her name, right? The
Linda Stogner.
Linda Stogner. Yeah, I've heard good things about that club.
Yeah, man, Backdoor is the best. That's where I'm gonna be tonight. Yeah, if you're a new comic, that's definitely a place you need to be doing. And like, it seems like a challenge because you're like, oh, I don't know if I can write clean. You need to. And like Linda's whole philosophy is like she doesn't care what you do with the material once you leave the place. If you want to go and, dirty it up, that's on you. But like the whole thing with like writing clean is for a fact that joke is funny without relying on any of the cuss words or the like, obscene
Sure.
things you want to add to it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's if you're especially if you're new, you're going to be opening. So opener needs to be clean because nobody wants to follow someone who's dirty. And if you want to get TV,
Right.
for the most part, unless you're trying to do a Netflix special, you're going to need to be clean on network TV.
Yeah. And most people aren't going, straight from the comedy club to a Netflix special.
No, there's definitely a bunch of steps in between there that requires you to be clean. Well, yeah, that's good. Well, that's a good assessment of the local scene there. It's exciting. Do you feel like the Dallas Fort Worth scene is growing? Do you feel like there's an excitement, a buzz?
Yeah, man. There's like 13 clubs here.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's work for everyone here. Again, I do think it will, come down eventually a little bit, but there's work for everyone. It's a great scene. And if you just focus on like writing and, getting in reps and working to be your best, like this scene makes killers. Like it's just a proven fact. And, especially in Texas comedy, all the top people have come from Dallas.
Yeah,
And I'm a firm believer of like you drop a good Dallas comic in any scene and they will shine.
yeah,
Well, I'm curious how to operationalize like your challenge of like just leave your 15 set at home and do a whole new 15 set. So it takes balls to just bomb and just I guess Mike and I are always coming up with like monthly challenges. This challenge
Yeah,
was write 750 words a day in January, or we do a write a joke a day challenge.
yeah.
Did you challengize what you're doing right now to build a new 15? Brainstorm with us. How would you do that? Just do a new five that you know is not going to work, or
I just think like throw everything at the wall. If you have an idea, this is what I always tell people. I'm like, if you like, let's say you try a new bit, it doesn't go the way you want it to, it doesn't work out, whatever. Work it a different way. Because like there
Hmm.
is a reason you thought that was funny to begin with. Like you thought it was funny. That made you laugh. So now you just have to figure out how to convince the audience that it's funny. You have to make them see what you see.
Yeah. How
And
do you get them to think that way?
I mean, it could be a wording issue, it could
Right.
be a sequencing issue. I mean, like I said, the one of the jokes that like I started on at the beginning of the month that now is like a good 3 to 4 minutes that's working everywhere I go. For the first like 3 weeks, I could not figure out the first half of it.
hmm,
I was like, I don't understand. Like, why is this not clearly communicated? This thing that I find funny. And I was talking to one of my cousins about it, and he was like, "Oh, he's like because he's like, why don't you try saying that part second instead of first?"
Mm,
And he's like, because you're not giving them the context that they need to understand that.
right.
And I was like, "Oh, right, they don't have that context. I do."
Right.
uh,
And then so now that I've been doing it that way, it's been working everywhere.
Isn't that something?
like
And it's like,
unlocked it.
yeah, it's like, yeah, it was just that one thing of like switching the order of the way I would say things.
But see, and the only way you can get to that place is by doing a lot of reps. Like
Yeah,
where you have the reps to find out that you're doing it in the wrong order and the reps to reorder it and find out that that's the right way. That's cool.
yeah. You gotta hit as many. And there is a thing of like, I think if you're in your first year, hit every single mic you possibly can, whether it be a bar mic, a club mic, someone's alley, a garage, whatever it is, because you need to get comfortable on stage. That's the whole important thing. You got to get comfortable on stage and you got to get comfortable bombing.
Yeah,
Once you get past that, then I feel like you can whittle down and choose which mics you do and don't want to hit. Because at that point you're focusing on the quality of the mic because you're trying to, work a joke out.
right.
Like it doesn't make sense sometimes to go to a bar mic where it's three people and all of them are watching the Mavs game and no one's going to listen to your joke anyways. Yeah, I mean you're just wasting your time at that point
Yeah.
because if you're working on this joke, you need an audience for that joke.
But
So
you're
I,
saying in the
that,
beginning, though, a bar mic like that might be valuable because you're just learning how to have confidence
right,
do it.
it's teaching you to be okay with people not listening.
Yeah, that's good. That's good advice. Yeah, and it's the repetition is so necessary. And there's funny because I've written books on joke writing, and there are people that are book learners, and there's people that aren't. And the people who aren't can get kind of snobby about the fact that other people do like to learn through books or through classes. Another one, some people learn through classes, and some people are like, that's what? No, I just learned by going out there and gutting it out with, white knuckling it the whole time. But
Yeah.
but I think we're all geared differently for how we learn and take in this art form, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, everyone learns things in a different way. I don't think there's anything, against classes or anything like that. The only thing would tell anyone is like those what the classes are good for is like taking what you need and then like leaving everything else.
Yeah,
You have to figure out what works for you. But yeah,
sure.
sometimes part of that process is taking a class. It doesn't mean you have to do everything exactly how that class is taught.
No, that's the whole challenge of teaching is giving them enough information where they can take it on their own and figure out how to use it the way they can use it, for
Yeah.
their skills and their skill set.
Yeah, I think, my biggest advice to anyone new is again just like get your reps, get comfortable on stage and get a good 5 minute set. And once you feel like you have, what you think is like a chunk of 5 minutes, go do that set every single open mic for about a month.
Hmm.
And I promise you it'll get tighter and you'll get booked on something.
Yeah. And you'll get to feel what it feels like to consistently make people laugh.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's for everyone or for not. I record every single set that
Oh,
I
I
do.
I believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, I recorded it. It's on my phone, and I bought a hard drive today so I can transfer everything over because I'm running out of space on my computer. But it's like that's important that
Yeah.
you got to look at all that, especially when you write so much and you forget about it.
Yeah.
You can always go back to the files and be like, "Oh, look, I forgot that I did this joke," or "Hey, the first time I did this joke, I did this act out, and it got a big laugh, and I've never done that again. Maybe I should incorporate that."
Right. And maybe when I did this joke, this did not get a laugh, and I forgot that something I did miscommunicated, and
Right.
now I can hear how to twist that better.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. It's not all just the work doesn't stop on stage. There's so much other shit that goes into it.
Well, that
That
leads to
that
that
goes
other
into our
final
last question.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Ask it, Chris.
Yeah, we ask everyone that they're basically if you have an hour a day to write, that is so not stage time, but just work on writing jokes or work on your craft. What
Yeah.
exercises, drills, improv skills, what's the equivalent of doing 100 push-ups but for your comedy chest?
Oh man. Just going over your set. If ideally, if you're hitting, a mic every day, that means the next day you can look over that set. Or if you're working on like if you really like you're like I got this one joke and I really need it to work, you watch, all your videos of that, see how you did things differently, figure out what you want to do the next because also ideally you're hitting another mic that night or you have a show that night. And that's another thing I'm trying to get into this year is like not being afraid to try new stuff at shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like obviously you want to do well and you want everyone to have a good time, but also like I'm trying to work this joke to get it to the best level possible. I've had a problem before with just abandoning jokes too quickly because I'm
Hmm.
like, it's not working. It's not working. All right, it's gone. So this year I'm really working on if it's not working, keep working it. Keep working it, keep working it. Something's gonna come out of it. And even if nothing comes out of it, at least you worked your writing muscle
Yeah.
and you can always just put it to the side. And in a year, when you're an even better writer, maybe you'll think of something different to change the angle on it.
That happens so many times where you go, "Oh my God, now I know what's funny about that idea."
Yeah, you crack it because it's like, oh, you're a year better because you've put in like it's the little stuff that adds up, even though you don't see it. you look back and you're like, oh yeah, oh, I'm way better now. I know how to do this.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, thank you so much for your time, Kane. I appreciate it. And
Yeah, thank y'all for having me.
Kane from the truck.
From the truck. Yeah, I was at work and I was like, hey, I gotta go.
I got an interview to do. But we appreciate your time and your insights. And we wish you luck. Is there anything you want to talk about that you got upcoming? Anything you want to brag about? Anything you want to?
Just follow me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is funny Kane. It's funny Funny and Kane is CAIN underscore. So it's funny Kane and follow me on there. I have my link in my bio. It has all the links to any upcoming shows I do. But the big one is March 20th at the Arlington Improv. Please come to that show. That's the one I want everyone at. That show is going to be really fun.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a big party, so I'm excited.
Let's see if we can pack that audience and get everybody there to see you. Well,
I'm
good luck
hoping.
on that. Yeah, I hope that goes well, and I know it will go well. I hope it leads to a lot of big things, and it'll be fun watching your rise here, buddy.
Man, thank y'all for having me. I really do appreciate it, and thank you for asking me to be a part of the show.
Of course. Sweet. All right, brother.
All right,
Thanks,
thank
Kane.
y'all.
Talk soon.
Yeah, bye.
I got a phone call from my doctor earlier, and he was like, "Kane, I'm sorry to tell you this, but like, we got your test results back, and you have Asperger's." And I was like, "Wow, that only sounds half delicious, you know?" But that's just because I love eating ass, you know?
That was good, right?
Good perspective. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like his really younger perspective of him in the thick of developing.
Yeah, I like his attitude towards it, and he's real hungry. He's always out there and always getting sets.
I do like the trying to operationalize his. Okay, this mic I'm doing 100% 5 minutes new, all new, and I'm just gonna soak
I did
in
that
this
last night, and I ate a big
terribleness.
dick, man. I ate it hard.
Oh,
It was rough.
that's hard. But I guess if you commit to that challenge and knowing you're gonna bomb, maybe it's easier to get through those like just awful feelings of like your
It's not.
fight or
It
flight.
hurts. It
Ugh.
hurts. Yeah, you got to train yourself like you're facing a fastball. Can't flinch.
What was your best piece of advice from Kane, you think, for just a
I think the idea of working and reworking and not giving up on something, and the fact that there's a reason why you thought it was funny in the first place. So don't give up on that original idea. All right, brother. Talk soon.
yeah.